Hello friends and fiends, it's Pixie back with yet another Netflix horror fix. I'm so excited. This one's actually good. This one's really good. This is the first beginning to end good one we've had so far and I am so happy. This is the Babadook. This one I was quite excited for anyway because the reviews have been really good. It was one of the highest, if not the highest, scoring film from 2014, last year, on Rotten Tomatoes, which is quite an achievement, especially for a horror film. It's the first film by the director, a lady named Jennifer Kent, I believe. Hang on, this is where I have to look up Wikipedia again because I'm terrible. Yes, Jennifer Kent. This is her first full-length film, which is phenomenal. For a first film, this is incredible. I mean, she's done some work with Lars von Trier and some short films before, but this is her first feature-length picture. Wow. I am so excited for this woman's career. This is good. I can't begin to tell you, like, that watching this, having watched some of the other films that I've gone through so far, this is on a whole new level. This is great. The acting is phenomenal. Everybody in it is believable. The two main characters, one of which is a child, absolutely, completely believable. The plot is partly, it has this, the whole thing has this timeless sense, that even the title, The Babadook, sounds like something you've heard before, but at the same time it does things very differently and very cleverly, with all sorts of homages and things. And I'm going to try not to be too spoilery with this one because I really want everybody to go and see it. Write it in permanent ink on your hand. Go and see this film now. Right. I better actually do a proper review since I've spent the first minute or so just going. It opens up with the central character, who is a lady named Amelia Vanek. Played by Essie Davis, who's an actress I'm not really familiar with. I think, again, this is one of her first big films. Apparently she's a friend or a former classmate of Jennifer Kent. Yeah, it opens with a dream about a car crash that feels like a dream. In fact, my first notes that I wrote down in there is in all caps, a dream that feels like a dream. It has this weird quality that instantly you know this is a dream. It doesn't feel like a cop out when she wakes up. It also has a wonderful representation of, those dreams where you wake up and it feels like you've just been falling, like you wake up in your bed and you kind of jolt. It does that, and it's just one of those zoom in reverse tricks. How can I describe it? When the thing in the foreground is zooming forward and the thing in the background is also zooming at a different rate. It's one of those things that if you've seen it, you know it. Spielberg uses it in Jaws. I know Hitchcock used it a fair bit. It's a fairly simple trick to actually do, but you literally have the camera zooming while you're physically pulling it back. But yeah, it's done against the bed, and so it really has that quality, and it's within the first 5 minutes I was like, wow, I'm in for something good here. Amelia, our central character, is a single mother. Her husband died in a car crash driving her to give birth to her son. Her son is now about 6. He's played by a wonderful little actor who's got such an interesting face. He's got very, very large eyes, very expressive, and again is completely convincing. Wonderful little actor. I hope he goes on to good things. He's really phenomenal in this. This little boy, the character's name is Samuel. He has very obvious behavioural issues, but he's very imaginative, wonderfully so. We are first introduced to him waking his mother up because he believes that there are monsters in the cupboard. He's absolutely obsessed with the idea that there are monsters in the cupboard or under the bed, and it's a constant source of frustration for his mother. Excuse me. So he's very imaginative and inventive to the point of actually having these sort of bizarre contraptions for for fighting monsters. So he's got this sort of baseball thrower, cricket ball thrower, sorry. I think it's an Australian film, so of course it's a cricket ball launching device that he has mounted on a sort of backpack thing. He gets in trouble for taking a crossbow to school. He's, very, very obsessive, but he's also into sort of magic and sort of making illusions and things, and he's quite gifted. And it's never he's never given a sort of diagnosis, but there's still some sort of behavioural problems that are causing him to be he's at odds with my pronunciation of odds was very strange. I apologise for that. He's at odds with his school friends. Amelia has a friend who they've clearly known for a long, long time, and this friend has a daughter who's roughly the same age as Samuel, and they're clearly drifting apart. This little girl doesn't want to be hanging around with this lad because he's behaving so strangely and he's just obsessed with monsters. And there's a sort of notion that he believes, or he's gotten the impression that his father died so that he could live. And there are, it's a film that's very much about grief and dealing with death. Dealing with death through the eyes of a child is always extra difficult. The family is very sort of alienated. Amelia clearly doesn't have very many friends. She works as a sort of nurse in a retirement home, and she's very frustrated. She's lonely. She's sexually frustrated as well, and just driven down by having to look after this very demanding child that she loves, but she can't completely cope with. And that's a relationship that's beautifully portrayed in the film. It's clear that Samuel really loves his mother. It's clear that his mother really loves him, but there's some sort of disconnect happening here. There's too much else going on, which is really well done. And there's even points where there are sort of trouble with school, which then cause social services to turn up. And again, social services are portrayed in a very realistic way, because the mother is behaving very strangely and she's very tired. She hasn't been sleeping properly because Samuel hasn't been sleeping properly. And the reason for the escalation, at one point, Amelia tells Samuel, okay, pick your story to read before bed tonight. And Samuel finds this red-bound book called Mr. Babadook. And it's this beautiful black and white puppet book with the most wonderful art style. I'm dying to know who drew that because I want it. It's wonderfully. It reminds me very much of sort of Edward Gorey or Charles Addams. It's that sort of you know, very, very sort of squishy, scratchy kind of. The shading is not entirely even, and there's a sort of expressionist quality to it. Jennifer Kent is clearly quite a fan of sort of Nosferatu and Carnival of Souls and all of that sort of thing. There are sort of Georges Méliès references, and you know, she really throws every influence in there, and this is a case where I can say, yes, this is a homage and not a rip-off. I'll talk a bit about some of the visual influences later on. But yeah, this pop-up bit, Mr. Babadook, is about a sort of boogeyman character who starts off friendly and sort of wheedles his way insidiously into a family's world. And given Samuel's sort of obsession with monsters, he's really quite traumatized by this, and Amelia can't even face to read the end of the book. Samuel gets really obsessed with this, and for several days later he's, you know, insisting on taking his monster catching contraptions out and frightening the hell out of his sort of playmate, this little girl who's the daughter of a friend of Amelia's, and Amelia gets so fed up with this whole situation she literally rips the book apart in quite a violent fashion and then throws it out. A few days later the book turns up meticulously sellotaped back together on her doorstep, and she flicks through it, and it now has more pages, including Mr. Babadook taking over the mother and doing horrible things to both their pet dog and to her son. And she's so perturbed by this, obviously, as you would be, that she burns it on the barbecue. And but then when she gets back in a little later, she receives a phone call with this very creepy male voice, and it just says Babadook. So that's my best grudge impression. What's her name? Kamiko? Can't remember. And this obviously scares the hell out of her, fair enough. So she goes to the police. Obviously the police don't believe her because, well, okay, she says she's being stalked, she's receiving these phone calls, well, she's got no proof of the phone calls, she says she received this book, well, she burnt the book, they don't believe her. But she starts seeing what looks like Mr. Babadook just around. There's this sort of Babadook itself is portrayed as a sort of this is where I see the Nosferatu influence, incidentally. It's a man with a very sort of pale, wan face, with very, very long hands, long pointy fingernails, is in a sort of trench coat with shoulders right up here, and then a top hat and spiky hair, so it's very sort of like this with the arms. And instant I saw that, I thought Nosferatu, Max Shrek, you know. Yeah, but well, to say quite how unnerving this is, this is my notes from the reveal of the Babadook itself. It's can you see that? Nope. That's what I put. I put nope. Nope. It's you never see very much of it. The first sort of proper reveal of it is when Amelia's in bed and it sort of scuttles across the ceiling almost like a spider. It's wonderfully eerie, and as it goes on you sort of have this impression that, is she possessed or is she just completely losing it? When the social services turn up to say, okay, why hasn't Samuel been in school? She's just had this horrific thing where she's seen a whole load of cockroaches scuttling across the floor, and she traces it to a massive sort of gash hole that goes straight through the wall behind the fridge. So she's moved out the fridge and she's cleaning up, and social services come in, and she's obviously not slept much. She looks awful, her hair's a mess, her skin's gone, her eyes are really sunken, and she's not quite with it. And she says, oh, well, I've had this cockroach infestation in a hole in the wall, and they sort of follow her through into the kitchen and look, and there is no hole in the wall. Again, that moment I really enjoyed, because you know, normally when you see social services turning up, especially in a film like this, they're sort of portrayed as sort of really awful, but in this it really feels like, yeah, she's losing it, and you really want her to get well, but at the same time she's not really. You can totally understand why social services are perturbed by her behaviour, and her behaviour becomes stranger and stranger. Sorry, that was my computer turning off again. She starts to sort of flip-flop between being really aggressive and unpleasant towards Samuel, which is quite terrifying, really, and then being extra nice, but she just, she's in another place, so she hasn't had any sleep, and she's clearly very ill, physically ill as well as tired and depressed. I mean, that this is a really good depiction of depression, especially towards the sort of beginning to middle part of the film, before she starts to really suffer. This is a sort of brilliant portrayal of sort of that low-key, okay, I am depressed, but I am not ill depressed, I am functional depressed. This is a wonderful film, it really is. And obviously, I won't spoil too much, because the latter part of this film is fantastic. Trigger warning for animal death. I thought at the instant I saw the adorable little white dog, oh dear, this isn't going to end well. Aside from that, this is a remarkably ungory film. This is remarkably sort of death-free. There doesn't need to be gory deaths. We know that the father has died unpleasantly, and we know that these people are suffering, but other than that, it's a sort of almost mythological fairy tale like story. I mean, it's a bogeyman story in its perfect state. It's really very good, and I'm just glancing at my notes to see if there's anything else I missed. Everything about it is just so clever. I mean, yes, there was a point where I was sort of watching it and thinking, gosh, does Amelia have a subscription to the Irony channel? Because there's a sequence where she's sort of watching television, and she's channel flicking between a murder inquiry, the 1925 version of Phantom of the Opera, creepy Georges Méliès style stuff, Carnival of Souls, some Bruce Lee kung fu movie, which I couldn't quite put my finger on which one it was. I'm not that good with them, but this was like the Irony channel. It was just violence and horror on every channel, and I want that subscription. No, again, it's a sort of everything about it sort of feeds into it. It's a very psychological horror, and it's a very yeah, I mean, for the vast majority of the film, you don't know whether Samuel and his mother are just ill, or something really awful is happening to them, and you don't want them to be ill. But I won't spoil too much, but the ending is genuinely heartwarming, and I'm so glad, because I sat through this entire film just sort of willing these two lovely broken people to work. This is great. Go and see it. I can't emphasize enough how good this film is. Yes. Hurrah, we finally found a good one. A genuinely good one, beginning to end brilliance. I can't really find fault with it. The acting is believable, the cinematography is beautiful, the character design is stunning, the plot is wonderful, the dialogue feels convincing. This is everything that you could want in a modern creepy film. So yeah, if I haven't sold you on it, give it a go anyway. If you have seen it already, see it again. It's that good. And yeah, I don't really have much more to say, because otherwise I will just end up sort of, I'll run out of superlatives. It's just too good. So next up we are going to be looking at a film called Banshee Chapter. I don't think it's actually about banshees. I hope it is. I like banshees. There's not enough movies about banshees. Make more banshee movies, world. Make more banshee movies. Yeah. Yeah, don't know anything about this one. Could be good, could be bad, don't know. But that'll be the next dose of Blood, Guts and Pixie Dust. And in the meantime, go and see the Babadook. Babadook.